I did not make my notes, you did.
To actually pay it forward for people, immigrants who are struggling
Yeah.
to land a job, students who are struggling to land internship jobs, etc.
Why was certifications introduced? To bring some legitimacy to what you are doing, right? Why was a degree introduced? Because that was the only way you could study. So exposure was limited. Anyway,
So
coming
I'm
back.
earning a lot of money, but
Yeah.
now what's happening is suddenly they're firing people and they're not doing well.
Whenever people think that, oh, 10,000 people are doing a podcast, why should I start? Because the 10,000 people are not Ash and not Chirag, and they cannot be, right? So the differentiator would always be you. So if you Welcome to the Launch Lab podcast. I'm Ash, your host. I came to Canada on May 29, 2019, with nothing but a dream to make it big in this foreign land. Starting fresh, I quickly learned that success is built on resilience, adaptability, and having the right people around you. Now, I'm here to share that journey alongside other inspiring stories from fellow entrepreneurs who came here and paved their path to success. Every episode, we dive into life-changing moments, difficult decisions, and struggles which define the entrepreneurial journey in Canada. So if you're ready to build, grow, and chase your dreams, this is the right place for you. So let's launch it.
I wanted to talk to you about this one thing.
Oh, sure.
And, I don't want to turn this the other way. I know that you have questions, but I just thought that this is something that I wanted to bring up
Okay.
during our conversation.
Okay, perfect. Right now?
Right now, we
Okay,
can do
sounds
that
good.
as well. We can jump into it later because that's something that we can build on our conversation on.
Okay,
So I
perfect.
have bad...
It's pretty casual, however you want to take it ahead.
So I'll tell you what, I saw this post from you and I was like, we must talk about it. I
Post
resonate
from me
on LinkedIn,
okay. Interesting.
which
I post a lot on LinkedIn.
let's talk about this. I don't need an MBA from
Oh, wow.
Stanford to be a successful entrepreneur. I don't need a CPA to run a thriving tax consulting firm.
Yeah.
Why? Because knowledge is no longer served for a privileged few. Today, it's free, but only for those who truly value it.
And you commented on it.
I commented on it as well. What
Yeah.
stayed with me was, but here's the catch, access doesn't guarantee action.
Action, yeah.
And I'll come to the last part. In the end, success isn't about the degrees or titles you hold, but about your willingness to learn, apply, and grow. I want to understand the mindset here.
I did not make my notes, you did. I so strongly feel about this, and I, in one way or the other, I keep putting this post out. So since we just connected on LinkedIn recently, if you go to some of my previous posts, you would see similar post in a different way, because I've always been questioned not by anybody else but by my family, right? That so conventionally, people would think we're running an accounting business, right? Accounting, and I'm referring to Orientum Group here. So we're running an accounting practice, with in the most conventional way, it's debits and credits, bookkeeping, right? And then filing taxes, right? Which is a very narrow way of looking at what we do in whole. And then for doing an accounting kind of a role, expertise come from a CPA here, which you call CA in India, right? A chartered accountant. And my dad's a PhD. All my cousins are either doctors or engineers. Nothing else exists. My dad was the only... my dad... I am the only one who's the least educated, you could say, in the family. And my mom's an artist. So,
Wow.
Yeah, but she also went to art after doing a bachelor's and a master's. And so education has been given a lot of importance. And when I say education, I don't mean education in today's language. Education is different. Conventional education has been given a lot of importance was given a lot of importance in our childhood, and I don't blame them, because that's how they saw you can reach a certain stage of your life, but they've never stopped me from doing anything. So they feel, not just them, and then of course your clients also ask you, oh, you're not a CPA, right? So how are you doing this? I'm like, how? A degree does not define how, right?
Agreed.
So on I to no offense to CPAs who've done CPA, great, that's their path, and I'm not saying that that does not add value or reduces your value, nothing like that. But I'm just saying that a degree is not something which should define you, and any certification for that matter, because when our parents were growing up 20 years ago, why were certifications introduced? To bring some legitimacy to what you are doing, right? Why was a degree introduced? Because that was the only way you could study. So exposure was limited, right? So you had to get something, a book or something, or had to have a curriculum of some sorts, um, to get that knowledge. Knowledge wasn't in abundance right now. So knowledge is no more an excuse now that, oh, I did not know. That's no more an excuse. You go to YouTube and you want to search about whatever you want to search about in accounting or digital marketing, for that matter, the fancy terms, AI, intelligence, this or that, you would have enough information online, and that too for free. So in the end, it's upon your action what you're doing, right? So
Absolutely.
summing it up, like I went back to my childhood, but I have been listening this every day in day out. Like my mom was here just a month ago, and she still said that I would want you to have a professional degree because you have a backup. And I said I don't work on backups. There's no plan B.
It's
Like
all in.
there's no choice. So when people say, if this does not work, we can do this, and I say no, it doesn't. It pisses me off. It is pissing me off still right now as well, because there's no choice. This is the only way or the highway.
A few moments later.
I genuinely feel that probably amongst the guests that you're going to get, I have this unique qualification of having done a PhD in failures.
Okay.
And I've learned so much from the School of Hard Knocks, right from where I started till now. And through those experiences, I had to actually break down things and understand, who am I? What's my purpose? What is it that I'm good at? What is it that I can do and make a life
Yeah.
which I will be happy about? Because all of us come here, and it is the fact that it's limited amount of time. Ratan Tata passed away, God bless his soul. Does anybody know what his net worth is right now? Nobody's asking and talking about it. They're talking about what a great man he was,
saw that.
what a legacy he's left behind, the lessons that people have learned from him. And that's something that I wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
I've never been very motivated, which is a track that I'm trying to change in my mind as well. But for me, money was never the motivating factor. It was always about, am I doing something which is extraordinary?
Adding value.
Adding
Extraordinary with Chirag. Okay,
right. So
that's how the
eventually,
name
that's.
came.
I mean, there is some story behind it, which I will get to as well.
Okay.
But I didn't want to have a very average life. I wanted to be in a situation where I could influence people. I could serve the community, which I understood later. But the reason why I say failures and how they've shaped my life, childhood was privileged. Both my parents are retired sports teachers.
Okay.
And sports obviously runs in my blood. I get it from them in my genes. I played for Delhi basketball.
Okay.
17 nationals I played by the time I was out
Oh,
of school. So I pretty much walked into Hansraj College, Delhi University.
Okay. Sports quota.
Sports quota.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I was a
Okay.
bad student. Studies did nothing for me. I had 2 tuitions for maths and accounts, and I got 34 and 35 in my boards.
So born and brought up in Delhi.
Born and brought up in Delhi, two teachers. I was privileged also to the extent that initially, when I was in school, which was Air Force Bal Bharti, Delhi,
Okay.
my father was
Next
a
to my
teacher.
school.
DPS?
Banyan Tree.
Banyan Tree. My mum taught at Banyan Tree when it was Rai School.
Rai school. I was in Banyan Tree when it was Rai school too.
Right.
I must be in my second grade.
And my mum also tutored Amit Rai and Varun Rai, who were the owners,
Okay.
the kids. So
wow.
small world, man.
Wow.
And
So where are you from in Delhi now? I'm curious.
Delhi.
Yeah.
So I stayed in Lodi Road till
Okay.
in on the school campus because my dad was a teacher there. Then we
Okay.
moved to East
In
Delhi,
in Air Force Bal
Air Force
Bharti.
Bal Bharti. So I was living on
Okay, so
campus.
we have been neighbors. And which year are you talking about?
I'm talking about like a long time back.
Like
man.
how long?
Uh,
Was I born then?
1990s.
Yeah, so 96 is when I was born.
Yeah. So somewhere around that time.
So I was in Rai from grade 1 to grade 12. Even
Right.
nursery and KG I was in Rai. So they had the small school and then they
And
had
the
the bigger one.
right.
Yeah.
So that was schooling for me. So what also was that I was a fairly popular kid. For initially,
Sports,
my
yeah.
father was the teacher, so everybody knew me.
Yeah.
Then sports, and you know what sports is in school, right?
Correct.
So I was the sports head boy. I was the captain of our basketball team.
Okay.
I then went on to become captain of my college team as well.
Okay.
Under my captaincy, for the first time, Hansraj won an inter-university championship. So that was all very proud moments for me. But also, at the same time, I grew up with a lot of complex and insecurities because the talk behind the back, which some of my friends would tell me, and you could feel also, was that a lot of people used to think that whatever I'm getting
your
because
dad.
of my dad and the position that he's in. Privilege, right?
Nepotism.
He's nepotism, total nepotism. So I was always on this path to prove everybody wrong. I would play extra hours. I would put in extra work because that was, I mean, at 16, 17, that's your entire world, what people are talking about behind your back and going out and proving them wrong. I was never good at studies. I think I did establish that.
Yeah.
But Hansraj, I got into, and then, there was an instance where shit hit the roof. And this is the first big failure of my life. I failed my second year in college
Okay.
twice.
Okay. Oh, twice. Okay. All subjects.
No.
Just
Basically, I think so. I had economics, accounting, math, everything.
what were you doing at Hansraj? BA?
I wanted to go and do BA pass
Yeah.
because I had seen my mark sheet from class 12.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that conversation was with my father. Somehow I went and chose BCom honors. First, I just managed
At
to
least
pass.
You should have chosen BCom pass. BCom honors. is a
They didn't have
difficult
BCom
one.
pass.
Oh,
So they only had BA pass or BCom honors. Now, thankfully, I didn't go to
So same, I did
SRCC.
BCom
Otherwise,
honors as
I would
well.
have been thrown out of college because they only have eco honors and BCom honors,
honors.
right? So this happened. Now, imagine this. You've gone and flunked twice. And both my parents are teachers.
Yeah.
Shit went through the roof. And obviously, because I'm in college and I'm captain of the team, people know me. So there was this big failure tag on me. That's the time my dad sat me down. He's like, "What do you want to do in life?" I was like, "I want to be anchor.
Okay.
I want to be a sports show presenter." So I followed that up with a little bit of action. I went to ESPN Star Sports for
Wow.
my audition, which I didn't get. And strangely enough, I landed a gig at this one channel which I don't know anybody would know of or would have heard of, called Ahimsa. And I was
Okay.
anchoring 2 shows for them. I did this for about 2 months and we were recording shows. I don't know what happened. Overnight, that channel got shut. The office got shut. I don't have any access to the tapes, recordings, anything.
Wow.
That I took as failure. Personally, I was like,
How
this
old
is
were you?
not
19.
19. I was like, this is not what life has in store for me. So now let's go and focus on studies and see what we can do there. My parents also thought would be a good idea for change of scenery, and probably I need to mature. So I went to the UK to do my MBA.
Okay.
It's
And you
easy.
left
And I left.
basketball.
I left basketball. I think my career ended there at a high, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to make
Which
a
year was this?
2006.
Okay, so that time I don't think basketball even now.
No,
is
basketball
such a
was
big thing.
never such a big thing. That's
Still
why
not.
it's still not. So I was like, it's not going to happen.
In
So let's
India,
do something else. In the TV career part also, after these 2 failures, I was like, this is it. Now let's not be a failure in life and let's try and do something. International students it's relatively easier to get admissions, right? Plus, I had a great extracurricular record. So I landed into the University of Northampton in the UK. I did my MBA there. For the first time, I studied.
Okay.
I passed with distinction.
Wow.
So I was
What
like, I'm not
subjects?
dumb.
MBA. Okay.
MBA. And I'm
That
not
you did in
dumb.
marketing.
Yeah. And by the way, sorry, just to go back. So from BCom honors, I shifted to BA pass,
Okay.
gave 3 years exams altogether so that I could pass, and I managed.
Yeah.
Came back to India, started my career with India Today, and got into marketing. I was never a numbers guy.
Okay.
My marks proved that. And I was never interested
Even your
in numbers.
marks were not numbered.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So marketing just felt more creative.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got into that. But what sports did for me was it made me realize I get along really well with people. Managing teams, managing people, and generally my people skills were very good. So that helps a lot in marketing because you have to manage agencies, internal stakeholders, salespeople, designers. I would start working with designers because we had an in-house design team. So if to create an ad, I would sit with the designers, see what
India
they're
Today.
doing. India Today.
Okay.
So within India Today, I was within the lifestyle division. So
Okay.
I was handling marketing for brands
fun
like
stuff.
Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, Good Housekeeping, Prevention, fun stuff. Really nice job. We would get to do a lot of events with Bollywood celebrities. So it was a lot of fun. From there, I landed up being at Hindustan Times as a brand manager there.
Okay.
And I grew to a senior brand manager somewhere down the line. So India Today was about 4 years. India Today was about 3 years. Hindustan Time was 4 years. Every 3-4 years, I'd get this itch and start getting bored.
Okay.
And somehow I lost interest in media. Then came
So
a very
you were already a Gen Z.
totally,
millennial.
totally, it was a total
But you were a
millennial
millennial.
attitude. Millennial, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, what do I do now? I wanted to do something different. And I wanted to earn a lot more money. I joined FoodPanda, if you remember that or not. One of the
But
startups.
This must be what, 2010?
This is 2000 and
Even later.
later,
Foodpanda
much
came
later. This is 2016, 15. And I joined them as AVP marketing. I
Wow.
got a salary hike of about 10x.
What was your salary? You tell me now.
At that point in time, dude, I was Hindustan Times, I was at about 12 lakhs. I went up to about 23, 24 lakhs.
2014.
Yes. So,
Wow.
and
So that's
not
good,
bad for
yeah.
somebody who's flunked twice.
Yeah.
Right?
I think only people who are from Delhi, India can relate to our conversation because everything is a lot of Delhi and India and
100%.
Bollywood. Anyway,
So
coming
I'm
back.
earning a lot of money, but
Yeah.
now what's happening is suddenly they're firing people and they're not doing well. I don't know this culture because I'm coming from Hindustan Times where they don't fire anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I don't know what the hell is happening. Suddenly, one day they tell me that go to Bangalore and fire the marketing team there. I'm like, I am not going anywhere. I have no idea about what's happening. And I knew that, okay, this is going to be a little...
And FoodPanda.
FoodPanda was anyways in the news for the wrong reasons. The founders were held somewhere in Pune in an office and thrashed. I was like, I am not going anywhere.
is it? Okay.
Yeah. They were very bad at what they were doing.
Okay.
So incidentally, what happened?
FoodPanda was an app, right?
It was an app, food delivery app like Swiggy and
And it failed.
Zomato. They were failing. They were very big in Germany.
Oh, okay. So it was not Indian.
It wasn't Indian.
Okay.
Then I met this friend of mine who I had worked with in India Today.
Okay.
And he was working for BMW India
Yes, you reached BMW.
and he was in the events team, and then he later on moved to, so BMW has 4 brands for people who don't know. The mega brand BMW, Mini Cooper, Motorrad, which are the bikes, and then Rolls Royce. So he was working with the Mini Cooper team, Mini team. And he was like, listen, there is an opening. Do you want to come here? I said, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And this was like the ultimate achievement for me if I would have landed BMW. Because what's also happened before that, 6 months before that, he'd recommended me for a marketing role. I took a week off from my work to prepare for that interview. I did so much of practice in terms of writing my answers.
In BMW.
For the BMW interview.
Okay.
That when I went for my interview, I fucking froze.
Okay.
Because I had not practiced delivering that. I had all the information in the world, but I had not put in the effort to practice how I would
yeah.
deliver and how would I answer questions. So when they asked me a basic question, what do you know about BMW? I had 6 pages of information that I could have shared. But I'm trying to process in my mind, what am I going to say? And I froze.
Wow.
10 minutes into that interview, I knew I'm not going to get the job.
And you got it?
No. I never got it. First round, bye-bye. And then he told
And
me.
BMW was new then, 2014. So I
It
don't
was
think
new,
it wasn't
relatively
fairly
new.
Yeah.
It was relatively new. Then 2016, I had another crack. And this time he said, listen, now you get to get interviewed with my boss,
Okay.
who is fairly straightforward. So don't go into this tangent. Be very...
No buttering.
No buttering. Be very strategic about answers and stuff. I did not prepare too much. I was
Okay.
like, this time, I know what I'm going to be saying.
Yeah.
Went for that interview. I think 10 minutes into the interview, I had a feeling I'll land this job.
Okay.
So I landed BMW.
Okay.
This was like the ultimate.
Events and marketing.
So it was a very interesting role. It was event sales and marketing.
Okay.
So essentially, it was an area manager role where my job essentially was to steer the dealerships. We had 5 dealerships, steer them to hit their sales numbers and also help them with tactical advertising.
And this was Delhi.
This was Delhi, Gurgaon. For me, I had arrived. Luckily, the jump that I had gotten for joining FoodPanda is the salary that I got at BMW and
Thank God.
Slightly more as well.
Thank God.
So I
You
was like,
joined
okay, this is
FoodPanda,
it. I am earning great money.
Yeah.
Now people have stopped asking me what I do, and we only have conversations about cars.
And were you married by then? No.
I was married by then. So this was also lady luck that was changing my life.
Okay.
And very fancy job, man. So wherever you travel, you're getting chauffeur-driven cars. So just to give you
Driven BMW.
chauffeur-driven BMW and minis as well, which was the funniest that I'm sitting in a hatch with a driver.
Correct.
But so listen, I come from a very middle class family.
Yeah.
All through my growing up years,
teachers.
I had like a Maruti Swift, man. So from there to be able to crack this, and then all the insecurities that I had, finally they were over. I was like, I am doing shit. I was working like crazy. And I learned so much. I was growing really fast in the organization. I had my people skills, which was the biggest benefit that I had, because, mind you, I'm not an automotive guy when I've joined. Everybody else on that floor had an automotive backing. So I had to prove myself. And for me, this was like do it moment. What I want to add here is that the person who hired me, Mihir, within some time of knowing him, I started hero worshipping him, because finally in my life, I found
The BMW guy.
the boss who hired me.
Oh, the boss. Okay.
So he was the director of Mini then.
Okay.
And I had never ever before that come across somebody who had so much of career clarity. In his college, he wanted to make ads for luxury cars.
Okay.
And he was working for BMW. He had before that, prior to that, he'd worked at Mercedes. And he was fucking good at what he did. Right? So I was hero worshipping him, and at the same time, I had that fire to be like that guy. So I would ask him questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? Give me some great advice. He says, you don't know shit. Here it is more about steering people and helping them get to their targets. If they get to their targets, then you get to your targets. So you need to go out and make sure that you remove any obstacle for them and find solutions. So really great mentorship, right? Putting me out there, going and talking to customers randomly at events, understanding why did they buy the car, what sort of a car park do they have at home. Mini, fun fact, is the 6th or the 7th car in a household in India, because to give you a comparison, a Cooper S 3-door is about 100,000 Canadian dollars here in Indian money. That's how expensive the car was. So it was as expensive as a 5 Series.
Yeah.
All this is happening. Finally, to stress, I have arrived in life, right?
Yeah.
Now, just to give you a backstory, my wife has this burning desire to experience life outside of India.
Okay.
We went to a consultant to move to Canada when I was just about to join BMW. I went, paid them the money and everything. So we were like, I was under the impression it's going to take 2016. It's going to take 2-3 years, and we'll figure out by the time I'll have enough contacts in Munich, they will send me somewhere else and we'll get there. I joined BMW. I totally forgot about all this. I stopped taking the calls of my consultant who was doing my PR. Then we went to Spain in 2017.
Okay.
I had to go there for a car launch.
Okay.
And then I extended my holiday. My wife came. We were in Barcelona. We had
And
a
she
great
was
trip.
also working.
She was also working. And then she just joined me after the conference for
Okay.
a holiday. She came back and she was like, I want to leave India.
Okay. Why?
And because she just wanted to experience life outside of India as well. God forbid, I don't know what
Because
happened.
both of you were making good money.
Both of
comfortable
us are
lives,
making good money,
and
but
you were
she's
living in
like,
Gurgaon.
I was living in Gurgaon by the time I'd moved out of the house because it was too far away. I couldn't do the commute, so I was like, let's stay here. We were living our best lives. Then the consultants, because I was not answering, they called her
Okay.
that we are freezing your account. Chirag doesn't answer the phones. I don't think you're interested in going out. And all this while Ina is telling me what's happening. I'm telling her, oh, they're not taking that much. They're taking too much time and this and that. The sitting down
What
that
happened
I
that evening?
oh my God. So listen, that day I just said, I can't do the paperwork. It is too much of paperwork. We'll go, but you have to do the paperwork.
Okay.
My understanding was it's going to take us 2 years to crack that. I don't know how this happened. July 23rd, 2017,
Okay.
we had applied
Mm-hmm.
and given our paperwork. July 24th, we had invitation to apply.
Come on.
5th of September, I had my passport stamped with the Canadian PR.
Wow.
The
1 week.
3 months.
No, but you got
One
the
week,
invitation in
one
a week.
day.
July 17th,
One
July
day.
24th.
23rd to 24th.
23rd. Okay.
I was like, I have no idea. I don't even
This
till
had to
date.
happen.
Till date, I don't know what my points were.
Yeah.
She did everything. Now it was time to live up to my promise.
Yeah. So you moved.
So we came here.
2017.
2018.
Okay.
I came here just 1 week before my first landing date had to expire. If I wouldn't have come, that thing would have expired. So we came here. I had tasted blood with BMW. I was
Yeah.
like, this is where I want to be. I came with a single point agenda.
You joined BMW.
I will be in BMW.
So they did not give you a transfer.
No, it's because there wasn't any opening here.
Okay.
And they said, stick around and we'll figure out what will happen. We'll send you to the Americas or we'll do Munich, whatever comes, but
Okay.
figure it out. But we need more time because I'd also been there for just a year and a half.
Okay.
So I also needed to prove more.
Yeah.
And it takes longer. So I was like, okay, let's see. Whatever will happen, will happen. We got here. It's 1 point agenda.
And you did not have a kid until then.
No, I still don't have a kid.
Oh, you don't. Sorry. Yeah.
So we were for the longest time, we were the dink couple, double income, no kids.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're here. 6 months go by and I don't have a job. Toronto, again privileged. I was living with my friend and he was very gracious to open up his house.
Okay.
And I lived with him for a good 6 months.
6 months
6
with your
months.
friend and he was okay
My-
with it?
Yeah.
Wow.
My childhood friend, and he said that, listen, even Ina, my wife, she landed a job before me.
Okay.
So he was like, no, you guys will go only when the both of you have a job. So,
Okay.
I was very privileged to have that kind of support, which not many people have.
Yeah.
That's happening. But what's also happening is I'm not getting calls. I'm not getting interviews.
Pressure.
Pressure is happening. There, my boss is messaging me, is your Canadian adventure over? Want to come back?
Yeah.
And I was torn, and I thought that, what, let's do this experiment for a year. After that, I'd go back. And he was like, which region do you want to manage?
Yeah.
Do you want North India, South India? And I'm
Wow.
I'd message him, yeah, you'd get me divorced, but let me at least do this. But I always had that backup to go back. And
Yeah.
I had that mentor who was still guiding me, etc. Eventually, I cracked BMW Canada.
Okay. Same position.
No, this was different. So I was there, an area manager. Here, I didn't have much knowledge about the landscape, etc. So I got into after sales. After sales is essentially marketing to customers, making sure that our customers get the cars, etc.,
Retail,
serviced within the network. So I started doing that. Here's the fun part. I joined them in December 2018, 18th of December. By the 19th of December, I knew that I hated this role.
One day.
If that was a stretch. Because now what's happened is that you've taken somebody whose main strength is people and put him in a role where it's all about Excel sheets. business cases,
Yeah.
numbers, and you know how good I am and interested I am in numbers.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm struggling with. I'm making presentations, etc. I'm not enjoying that. 3 months down the line, I'm applying for internal jobs which are opening up, and I was called in by my director and said that we've taken a chance on you. You have to prove yourself here, and only after that would you be able to go this and that. All that's happening. A year goes by, and this is where the second part of my second biggest failure happens in life. Just before COVID, Jan 2020, I get a call from Ruchi, who is Mihir's wife, my
Okay.
boss from BMW India. Mihir's got cancer,
Oh.
a fairly aggressive one.
Oh my God.
And March that happens. I'm planning to visit him sometime later in the year. April 7th, I get a call that he's no more.
Oh my God.
Now I've
Oh my
lost
God.
my mentor, brother,
Sudden.
everything. And this was the guy I looked up to.
And how old was he?
42. And by that time, 2 kids. And he'd become the sales director for BMW India.
Wow.
His aim was to become the CEO of BMW India, which he would have gotten to 100%, knowing how aggressive that guy was and how good he was, right? And for me, that was the role model I had. That's the first time, Ash, I looked at my life again. And I was like, if I die today, am I going to die happy? Because I'm stuck in this role which I'm not happy about. Definitely, they don't have, BMW Canada doesn't have the same version of Chirag which BMW India got to see. So there is ownership on me as well. But that time I'm playing the victim. That people don't like me, racism, they're not promoting a brown guy, whatever that may be. The blame was all externalized. And I probably had like existential crisis, man, where I had no freaking idea about what life had in store for me. I'll cut the story short. 2 years were following which were
And 2
miserable.
years, same role.
Same role, everything same. And I am losing more and more confidence because I'm not being able to land a job outside. What's happening is I have become desperate for that change. But at the same time, I know that another job is not something that I want to do. It is only going to paper the crack, but not solve the problem. So then I went through a fairly dark period of my life where I genuinely did not know what life had in store for me. That's the time I took the spiritual route where I wanted some clarity in life, where I could put some faith in this higher power and start working and doing things without being attached to the outcome. Incidentally, 2022 year end is where I start watching podcasts. And I started with Ali Abdal. I don't know if you know this guy or not. Fantastic guy. You should definitely see. He's a YouTuber and also has a podcast.
Okay.
And then I started watching Diary of a CEO and this and that. And I was like, this is interesting. The best question a friend of mine asked me and gave me clarity, which gave me a lot of career clarity, was, he said, Chirag, ask yourself one question. Apart from doing that test that you've already done, what is it that you will do in life if money is not a criteria? Imagine that you're earning the same amount of money right now, or maybe even less. Factor in the inflation and everything. But you're doing something that you're happy doing
with.
every single day. I had to then internalize this entire journey of mine, go back and break it down and say, feel, learn, understand things about myself to pick out that one thing which was of interest to me. And I was like,
Engaging with people.
engaging with people, I have people skills.
Yeah.
At that same time, I also wanted to know that am I the only one who is so messed up in life and who hasn't got his shit together? Surely there would be other people like me.
Yes.
Can I help a younger version of Chirag? That's when I said, okay, I'll do a podcast. That's
This
my
was
calling.
When you decided this?
2023.
Okay.
2022 end, December.
Okay.
Christmas break, I had drawn my logo.
Oh, okay.
And it was called The Journey with Chirag.
Oh, it wasn't.
No,
any
it was
from-
called The Journey with Chirag. I started reaching out to people.
And you did not leave.
No,
your
I
job
didn't leave.
until then. Okay.
Then I shot my first episode in Jan with somebody who's
23.
23.
Oh, okay. It's
So,
been a year.
It,
2 years, sorry.
almost.
Yeah.
Right. So I shot my first episode in 2023 with somebody who's a senior leader in BMW.
Okay.
And he was the head of Motorrad. And generally, the idea was that can I start with career clarity and how people can get confidence, etc. So let's do low hanging fruit. Let's start with that. Other people also struggle with it. And can I help the younger version of Chirag? Right, who came here, did not do networking, did not understand how to navigate the landscape, etc., and all that jazz. By March, I was like, I need to get out of this environment because BMW was not solving anything for me, and I was not being true to the cause as well. I think I'd moved out, and that's the time I also learned you have to change your environment. And I hit the fuck it button really hard,
Yeah.
and I was like, let's go all in. Left that, did not have any job.
So 23, you left your job.
23 March,
Oh, okay.
I quit.
I thought you did it recently.
No. So I quit my job, but I had a final round interview, which I thought that I'd cracked with Audi Canada.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, you know what? At least I'll have some money coming in
Yeah.
while I'll do the podcast on the side. And it was a fantastic role, man. It was about launching new cars,
Okay.
right? It was launch manager for Audi Canada. I was like, this is it. This is plays to my strength.
Creative, yeah.
Creative, and at the same time, events, people, dealers, I would thrive in that role.
Yeah.
That role went on hold. And they didn't hire anybody for 6 months.
Okay.
I had a lot of other interviews lined up. Hyundai, Toyota, Volvo, Mercedes. Something happened and all those roles are going
Worked out
away.
Because you had to
Internal hiring, exactly. And I'm like, what the hell is happening?
probably you manifested it.
I am sure. But because, I was never into it full time.
Yeah.
The craziest conversation I've ever had is I got a call from the president of Jaguar Land Rover Canada.
Okay.
He was offering me a role in after sales.
Okay.
I hated after sales, and I mean it with all respect. So anybody who works there and likes it, it's great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me. I'm talking to him about my podcast. Will you come onto my podcast?
Okay.
That's the crazy ass conversation I'm having. And that's when I realized, okay, this is not happening. I told him I want double the salary of what you've quoted. Only then
Yeah.
will I come. He said, who
course,
the hell are you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay you anything and I'm not even going to come to your podcast. I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
No problem. Second episode happened. That's the time I was like, okay, no, the name has to change. It's about basically all my life I feared being average and all I've done is being average.
Yeah.
Now I want to be extraordinary. And I will call my podcast Extraordinary because this is going to be my journey of digging in deep and finding that unique essence that makes you extra and that extra that you're looking for. And that's why I called the podcast Extraordinary. I launched the podcast. I started getting a lot of people. I started networking a lot. So I met a lot of career coaches. I started getting them low-hanging fruit opportunity, asking them about how can we help people. It's always, the podcast has always been a platform for me to serve the community, to help my younger version. And that's what it will always be.
Yeah.
So that's how the podcast came into being. And that's been my journey so far, man, where I had to dig in deep, find my
But
career
you are
clarity.
doing something other than podcast, which
Yeah.
I recently got to know.
Yes.
Recently that you are doing content game as well.
Yes. So what happened was, so when I quit my job, after
Yeah.
that, I did land another gig. And
Okay.
it was in media sales. So I
Okay.
went back to my media days. But
Okay.
very soon that became a job as well. And that
Okay.
took me away from my podcast.
Okay.
So I was like,
You left
okay,
that as well.
yeah, because listen, the idea was that I want to be a podcaster, full-time podcaster. And I had given myself a 5-year window to be able to get to where I want to. And I want to be very honest with all the effort that I put in. So these two things weren't complementing each other. So I was like, can I do something which complements what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, let's
content.
start with content. I learned how to edit on my own. So I invested in Final Pro Max or whatever that software is.
Okay.
Learned everything on YouTube.
Okay.
And first 3 episodes I edited on my own.
Okay.
And then I realized it was taking too much time. So then I hired an editor through Fiverr. And then I messaged him and I said that, okay, talk to me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
So I was like, why are we giving Fiverr money when I can give you
Yeah.
money directly and it'll be cheaper? They take some money away from you. Sorry,
Yeah,
Fiverr.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what we were doing. And then now let me connect the dots going back. So now I'm doing the same thing which I was doing in India today, working with an editor.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And you liked it.
I liked it. And what I had done was because I'd worked in luxury and everything, I had developed a very strong sense of design.
Yeah,
So I know how that works,
yeah.
right? I have always been creative. So now this was also me looking at different things, understanding. So I did a special course on Canva to be able to start designing things.
Yeah.
Luckily, AI and everything was happening at the same time, where suddenly the cost of doing these creatives is next to zero. I'm doing everything on my own, design, coloring, everything. And for me, it was also breaking down, okay, what does this color signify? Black is authority, white is purity, orange is hope. So that's the color mix that I had. Okay, this is how I want my brand to be. So I'd go into that level. Also, there was somewhere a disconnect, Ash, where when I was interviewing for these roles, I was like, yeah, you guys are not doing marketing and branding the way
it
it's
should be.
happening right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, why is there no automotive brand promoting a podcast right now? Do you see the captive audience that these guys are getting?
Yeah,
Right? So, what are you doing the same traditional shit over and over again? So, I realized that I am not made to now go down that route,
yeah. The conventional.
the conventional route. So, then I started my own company. It's called Extraordinary Impact,
Okay.
where we specifically help small businesses scale big and get big results through video and content.
Perfect.
That's what we are doing. By the time, and in fact, I was randomly having a conversation the day I'd quit my job. I'd met a friend of mine who I hadn't met in a long time, and we were drinking. There's another friend of his joined in, and he was just listening to my story, and he was like, "Listen, I'll sponsor your podcast."
Wow. But why?
My first question to him was,
Why?
I don't have this much of confidence in myself. How do you have that much of confidence? He's like, I know that you're going to hit it big.
Wow.
I can feel it.
Wow.
And I want to come.
Send him to me.
Sure thing. And I want to be on this journey with you.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's the guy, Samir, who has had a very big influence on me. And I learn a lot from him as an entrepreneur.
And the other one was Mihir.
Mihir was
And
there.
Samir.
Mihir got I found another person like Samir,
Yeah.
who is totally into manifestation, man. The kind of things that he tells me, the way he runs his own business,
Yeah.
and everything that he does, I was like, sure. So I had released my first episode, and I told him, let me come back to you with a proposal.
Yeah.
Now I have done media sales. I've done event sales.
Yeah, so
I
you know
understand
how
how
to
to
make a
make proposals. So I went back to him and I said, this is what I can do. We also, during this period, I'm doing networking events, and I'm doing it to actually pay it forward for people, immigrants who are struggling to land a job, students who are struggling to land internship jobs, etc. Getting all these career coaches, getting them advice, etc.
Yeah.
All that is happening. Then I went to Samir. I made a plan and I said, this is how I see that we can grow your brand. Let's not just
Samir's brand.
Samir's brand, which is Kent Porter's. So what Kent Porter purification
That's
system.
why I saw that
Yes. So
ad.
yes.
Okay, where you were there.
Where?
I saw some content tied up with Kent.
Yes, and it comes in. They're also sponsoring my podcast, right?
Oh, that's
so
why
in
I saw
between
that.
there is an ad as well.
Okay.
So I gave him those deliverables. I showed him what the path is going to be
Okay,
in terms of how
great.
I see the brand going forward. So that started. So the second job that I had, I quit that in March
The
this
dots
year.
connected.
The dots connected. So from March this year onwards, I have my own agency where we are doing video and content marketing, and that's how we're using the power of video
Okay.
and content to help small brands and personal brands make it big. And I have no idea, man. Like that's why when you spoke about manifestation, people reach out to me and say that, can you do this?
Yeah.
And I like this video of yours, that how you edited that reel. Can you create something similar? Like, sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
Why not? But I'm very particular about the people that I work with.
Yeah, you
I
told
want
me
to have
this.
the right vibe.
Yeah.
We only then, there has to be fun. Listen, if I wanted money, I could have easily stuck around in
Yeah,
that
you
previous
were
job of
doing
mine.
good.
Right. So now I want to have fun. And at the same time, I want to make sure that the people who I hire and work with, they're also having fun. So that's really where I'm at, man. So, like I told you, I am not somebody who's right now reached that level. I'm in the process of building
But you
my
will.
business.
So
That
it's
has already
always the
happened.
confidence.
That's already happened.
Which you have immense, and kudos to that. But I know we've talked about your childhood, we talked about manifestation, we did talk about a lot of gossip, which was of no use initially. We have to think whether we keep that in the podcast or not, or just keep it for ourselves. We did talk about the low points and the high points, and how money eventually did just become a byproduct. And what I have three final questions from you. And I would want you to answer in the most honest way possible, in
Sure.
the shortest honest way. Like, this is the most straightforward answer. Uh, one, one for the first question is that, are you able to replace your income which you were making in BMW yet? If not, how difficult it is for you financially, like every day, how difficult it is for you to financially, do you go back and think like maybe BMW was the thing, when it has to be just from the financial perspective? That's the first question. The second question, why did you say yes to come to another podcast when you're running your own? Because initially, I mean, anybody would think that, oh, this is competition, like why would I want to go to somebody else's podcast and talk about uh, something which I am doing, right? Which is exactly kind of similar, right? And the third question is, what is the path forward? Where do you think extraordinary impact, where do you want to take extraordinary impact and extraordinary with Chirag? What is the future?
So the first question is about the money. What
Yeah.
I've done very strategically is that looked at my expenses.
Yeah.
Whichever is avoidable, I've cut that out.
Okay.
Right. That's the journey of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you're a tax guy, so you know this.
Yeah.
Instead of owning a car, I rent a car.
Okay.
I'm not paying for insurance. That's $500 saved right there.
Yeah. You're
Right,
in
my
Brampton,
credit
right?
card. Yes, my credit card covers my insurance.
Yeah.
So imagine that is the
Yeah.
money there. In 7 months, I've been able to reach a stage where if I look at the net,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the smart thing.
I am at the same
Good
page.
for you.
Right? And God has been very kind. I have the utmost gratitude that I've been able to attract people. People have automatically come to me. I've not sent a single dollar on advertising. I don't have a website.
Which you will have
You and
soon,
I were
yeah.
talking about it, but imagine without all this, I've been able to accomplish where I get. So I have
Correct.
proof of concept.
Yeah.
Now it's just about building on this.
Yeah, you've tested the water.
I've tested the water.
Yes.
So now there is a strategic plan. Strategically, I will collaborate with people of strengths that I don't have.
Okay.
And that would also probably answer the second question that you had, wherein, so now I'm getting a lot of queries around, can you build websites? Can you do SEO campaigns, etc. While
Already.
this is nice and fun, there is only that much of bandwidth I have, because for me, the number one priority will always remain the podcast.
The podcast.
right?
Okay.
And all this is to complement the skills that I have.
Yeah.
Every episode that I have done so far is edited differently, and
Okay.
it will always be like that, because I'm trying to push the envelope with
Yeah.
every single episode.
Okay.
I'm partnering with somebody who runs, who specializes in SEO campaigns, does websites, etc. So I'm
Okay.
like, okay, listen, why don't you come on board? Let's
Yeah.
collaborate.
Yeah.
I'm getting the business.
That's the
You
way
tell
to
me
go.
what
Yeah.
you need, and we'll figure out a win-win situation. You're a new business, I'm a new business.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
Coming to your podcast, why?
Yeah.
Why not? That's my way of looking at it.
Yeah.
We're having a great conversation.
Amazing.
Is
yeah.
there a way I can probably give you any kind of support, guidance that I can
Yeah.
from my journey, which is over the last 8 months, 9 months,
Yeah.
right? I do believe a lot in the power of reciprocity, wherein you need to help, serve without expecting anything.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will come back, right? If there is any way I can help and support you to make your podcast better,
Yeah.
to be able to give you support in general or advice,
Yeah.
I'm slightly ahead of you in the journey.
Yeah.
Why not? The other thing is, if you have to bypass me in number of subscribers or views, that will happen irrespective whether I come to your podcast or not.
Makes sense. Yeah.
and I am on my own journey. My content is something which I will do in a way that you can't do.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
can't be you.
Yes, that's the truth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I always, just to add to that, I always believe that the differentiator in your business is first you. And I did say this in the last podcast we saw was that it's nothing else. Everything else is a layer. Like, of course, your USP, the way you do business, everything eventually ties up to you. So whenever people think that, oh, 10,000 people are doing a podcast, why should I start? Because the 10,000 people are not Ash and not Chirag, and they cannot be, right? So the differentiator would always be you. So if you have confidence in something, there's always a market for you. There are always people similar to you to listen to your stories. Um, just to add on, collaboration is the way to go. If I can help
Absolutely.
you with something and you can help me with something, why not? And the whole idea behind a podcast is that we are able to help people at large, so it's not restricted.
Absolutely. And the one
Great.
thing that I've learned in my journey so far is the fact that and this is also what I've learned through my spiritual route, Ash, is the fact that you need to put emphasis on serving, detaching yourself from the outcome. So, as much as it is about collaboration, if tomorrow there is no way, I'm not doing this to benefit out of you in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form,
yeah,
right?
I
If there
understand.
is
Yeah.
a way I can help and be part of this journey,
Why not?
yes, man, why not?
Yeah.
And we do this in other aspects. So, why should we look at each other as competition? We go to industry events where we meet
Yeah,
people from the same industry and
correct.
then create those meaningful
Yeah.
relationships. That's exactly what
Looking
we are
at what the
doing.
other person is doing better and trying to incorporate.
Absolutely.
For sure. And what's the path forward for extraordinary impact and extraordinary with Chirag? Last
The
question.
path forward is exciting.
Yeah.
One one thing that we are already doing for extraordinary impact is our CSR initiative, where we're not
Okay.
talking about it much, but every 2 months we pick up 2 or 3 people who are either students who've just passed out or are new immigrants looking for jobs.
Okay.
We help them with their entire outreach strategy.
Okay.
We do mock interviews with them,
Okay.
and it's like me giving them a shot of confidence and dopamine in their shoulder and saying that, this is how you need to approach, this is how you need to network. Because somewhere down the line I feel that I have got this knack with people, and I know how to break that ice now. Also,
Yeah.
having failed so many times,
Yeah.
I know exactly what
Experiences,
not to
yes.
do.
Yeah.
So that's what we are doing already.
Okay.
You'll see us doing a lot more of it, and this will always forever be free, where we will not charge anybody. But I definitely want people who are struggling in some way, shape, or form. I should be able to help them along with Ina, who's the co-founder of Extraordinary Impact. So we are coming up with a LinkedIn series
Okay.
on networking as well.
That's what you were talking about in the morning.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's going to be content
Okay.
where I also get to build a community. And I want to be that guy who is paying it forward. The one condition that we have for anybody who we take on board is that when your time comes,
Yeah.
you
Make
have to
sure
pay
you
it
do the
forward.
same. Yeah. Let the loop going.
Keep the loop going.
Yeah.
The idea is to make this
Yeah.
go viral. With Extraordinary with Chirag, you'll find me doing a lot
One
more.
podcast per week.
That's the intent. So I've
channel,
given
yeah.
myself 70 podcasts
Okay.
where I am purely going to chase my curiosity, questions that I have been wanting to ask people,
Okay.
and they're going to be as random as they can get.
Yeah.
After I've done 70 episodes, I'm going to look into the data
Okay.
and figure out what is the audience wanting from me more of, so I can then have a niche. But this is always going to be
70 is a good number
70. Yeah.
to analyze.
Yeah, I'm 20 right now, so I have a clear target of doing
50.
50 next year.
Okay.
Having those conversations, learning from as many people as I possibly can, and then figure out, man, that what's the niche, what is that one thing that people like to hear or consume more of. So we'll double down on that. Already our engagement numbers are high. We have about 15 to 20 minutes. That's what we are averaging per episode
Okay.
as average view time.
Okay.
It is usually much lower than that. So while I don't have a lot of numbers in terms of the podcasts that I've
But
put out,
it's going getting there.
it's getting there. I'm evolving as a podcaster. Like
Yeah, of course.
I always feel that my last podcast was my best in terms of how I was as an interviewer, how I have edited it with my team. So
Until
that
you do the next one.
until I do the next
Which
one,
is-
and
which is the right
the
thing to do.
barometer is not the numbers.
Yeah.
It will never be.
Correct.
It will be to the extent to understand what the audience wants.
Yeah.
But from a growth standpoint, I am detached to the outcome. I'm doing this
Wow.
for fun. And this is like one of two things that I would leave you with is the one quote that I had heard somewhere, which stuck with me was, imagine playing with someone or competing with someone who loves practice. So this is practice for me. I don't have competition externally.
Yeah.
I am just trying to beat that voice which kept telling me that you can't do this, you failed in life, this is my payback.
Yeah.
And I am just putting in my best, having the best time, doing what I'm doing and
can see that.
enjoying it, man.
It is
l-
evident.
I'm glad that that comes through. And the last thing is that something which, has stayed with me, and I would say to everybody is that I'm sure you've seen that reel, that the magic you're looking for is in the
within you.
work that you're avoiding.
Okay.
So
in the
many
okay.
times when we're like, okay, let's take a shortcut here, let's take a shortcut there, or I know every frame where I've made a mistake, what is what I need to cut. And if I become lazy and I say I don't do that, that's the time I remind myself of this quote. And I would go into that detail. So my team hates me right now for being so crazy and, for lack of better word, anal about how we put out stuff. But eventually this all adds up, because the 70th episode, just for fun,
the
look at my
difference,
first episode at 2x
Coffee
speed.
with Karan, you can compare it
Exactly,
with,
man.
with Chirag in the first episode to Chirag in the 70th episode, there'll be a huge difference. Not just in the qualities of the podcast, but your qualities as a podcaster. So
As a podcaster.
excited.
And and I have big dreams for the podcast. It will be, I'm looking at the top 10 charts, and I have a number that
In Canada or in the world?
right now, North America.
Okay. Which is...
Let's take one thing at a time. Let's conquer
North
the
America
continent.
is huge enough.
Let's conquer the continent, and then the world will follow.
Perfect. Sounds good. We I think concluding with a great line, and if you can repeat. So
Let's conquer the continent, and the world will follow.
perfect. Great. It was pleasure talking to you. I think
Likewise.
that's what I discussed with my with our last guest, was that maybe we need another podcast or maybe we need a series of podcasts, because what we want to talk about, there's a lot left about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think we kind of talked about a lot of life stories,
Yeah.
which is important as well, which is what leads to entrepreneurship in the end.
Absolutely. So, and this is off the record or even on the record if you have it, either way. So, what I'm going to do is, and just to give you a sense, I know, sorry, we're on short on time.
Yeah. Matt's like, come on, guys, stop talking.
So, the series that I'm working on, like I said, it is like I'm following all the advice that I've gotten. Alex Hermosi is a guy who I look up to.
Okay.
I'm going to put out my best work for free.
Okay.
Because I genuinely want to serve and help the community.
Sure.
It is about helping that
Yeah.
younger version of Chirag and then taking it forward.
Yeah.
So I'm building YouTube videos and series around that. What I want to do is, let's have a conversation wherein, before we get into a podcast,
Yeah.
have those shorter conversations where let's dive into your journey. What are the kind of email messages, LinkedIn messages are you getting?
Yeah.
Do they work or not?
Then
Practical. Give
philosophical.
them advice that works, man. How to, and so the next time when we do this together, I'll have this entire series on networking that I can talk about, because I want to be known as the guy. So when you come onto my page, anywhere, you'll know that this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Through Extraordinary's page, you'll
The
see
niche.
all the different kind of editing, etc., that we can do, the storytelling that we have for different brands, etc. That's how I see us growing. And I'm going to be in India for about 2.5 months now, starting December.
Okay.
And I have
Delhi?
reaching Delhi. I'm
Okay.
reaching out to a few people for podcasts, reaching out few people for only for these videos.
Okay.
So I'd really want to tap into your mindset of how you started. Traditionally you didn't go in for a job, you started a business.
Yeah.
How are you networking, the importance of
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with the right people, breaking that ice, talking to people who are probably elder to you and don't have
Yeah.
that much of faith right now, right? Okay, this is guy who's so young.
Absolutely.
How's he? So
That's what
those
we
are the
do every
things I'm
day,
going to
yeah.
dive into. And of course what we'll do is we'll figure out the right time
Yeah.
for the podcast as well.
Sure.
And
No, makes sense.
I want to
And,
put it out there, Ash, that any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
my platform or I can be of help and support to you.
Yeah.
I am a WhatsApp message or a call
Perfect.
away man.